About time, so we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Egan?
Yep.
Mr. Dant?
Here.
Mr. Gentili?
Here.
Ms. Lasky? Ms. Goodman? Ms. Kaminsky?
Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda for today? Additions or changes? Could we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public? Not that I can see, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes from last month. I was not there, so what I read is what I assume happened.
Motion to approve, Egan. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that from anyone? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Treasurer's report. Accounts payable. Yeah.
So Susan, I know you are online. Are you planning on talking to this, or would you like me to?
No, I'm online, but I'm in Traverse City driving with my daughter Heather. So if I say left or right, just ignore me for a minute.
Okay, 'cause I knew you were out of the office, so I
Remember,
didn't know if
she's
you had
15.
something to
Remember,
do or not.
she's 15. She's 15. On the accounts payable, there really isn't anything that's out of the ordinary. But then I don't know if you wanted just to. Did anybody have any questions on the accounts payable?
Manistee Ford is still getting lots of money, it looks like. Is that anywhere near
Barry
done?
told me that should be the last bill for that.
Have a truck back?
Yes.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Other than that,
from you?
everything else. So I will
I
make a
wasn't-
comment though, the liquid runway de-icer. I know it shows up on this accounts payable, but the actual expense won't show up until October when you're looking at your reports.
Yeah, I was trying to time that to be in after October, but then the shipment showed up on like the last few days of September. But the invoice is actually an October invoice, so.
Yep, so it shows up for you guys to approve it, but it won't show up until the actual expense and revenue until October.
There's nothing else. Could we have a motion to pay the accounts payable?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Favor say, no, voice vote, sorry.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Dant?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky? Ms. Goodman? Ms. Kaminsky? Mr. Peterson?
Yes. And moving on to the trial
Well, then-
balance.
So the revenue and expenditure report, you can see on there that we got that PFAS grant, that 145,000, so we got that money. So that makes that bottom number a whole lot happier. When you're looking at it, the bottom number, I know it still says a negative 15,000, but we got that $13,000 reimbursement from the state, and then I have probably about $20,000 or $22,000 that I'll be doing booking for that. So I think the airport, when we're all done, will be in the positive. So I will present again next month, so we can go over all of that, but I will book the accruals and I'll book the money so that way we can see where we're at the end of next month. So I'll re-present these numbers just so you guys will have an idea of where everything falls. So I did want to just let you know about that.
Just to remind the board that this is our fiscal year end, so that's
Yep.
kind of why
September. Mhm.
wrapping it up in this kind of a little bit extended way.
Real quick question. So the PFAS, did we have some expenses in the prior year? Because I know last month's meeting, we amended the budget for 142. The actual reimbursement came in at 145, but our expenses are
We
at
did.
141.
Yeah, we did. It was kind of an overlap, but, yeah, we did. And we did get reimbursement for some of that last fiscal year.
And I'm assuming there's not going to be a problem with the auditors this year with the 142 versus the 145 with that?
No. Mm-mm. If we wouldn't have amended that, yeah, we would have had a problem with that, but it stays within the realm when we're all said and done. Within that, you have to be within a, certain percentage of your overall budget when you're done. So, and then you'll see, that'll be our next item that we're going to, talk about, that ALP update. After we get done with the revenue and expenditures and the trial balance.
With the revenues and expenditures, do we need to worry about doing anything with the repairs and maintenance being so far over? Do
So
we need to
once,
reallocate or?
so what, probably, the board meeting in November, I'll come to you, yeah, you gotta turn it this way. So, I'll come to the board and make some recommendations, and those are line item budget amendments, so we can do those after the fact. And then we'll take a look. So that's why I said that's kind of a good thing, that will be in the positive. So we'll have some wiggle room, and I'll try and get those line items to match up. So that way they're all within the budgeted line items. I know that we did that last, hang on. I know that we did that last year.
Yes, I believe that's
So,
correct.
yeah. 'Cause we won't be adding anything to the budget after this meeting. It's just, kind of like putting those together. No. Putting everything together. It's kind of like a little, it's kind of like little steps, baby steps we have to take at the end of the fiscal year.
Motion to approve the September revenue, and expense report?
Or,
Seconded to accept the revenue expenses. Any further discussion? Those in favor, vote when called upon.
So roll call.
Saved that one, didn't I?
Mr. Dot,
yes.
Mr. Gentili,
Yes.
Ms. Lasky, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky? Yes. Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
And then the next item is the ALP that we need, the update. We need to add that to the budget. Barry got me those numbers for the $207,043. So we would be adding that under the revenue for the ALP update airport, that top line there. And then you'll see there's an expense line item under the capital equipment that we add that same dollar amount, the $207,43. Last year was the first year that the auditors requested us to do that, and I think we're froze. So we just need to add that again to this year. Go back to this.
So this is a grant that is administered by the state. So all payments and everything are happening on the state. But because we are the grantee, the auditors are now requesting that this be shown in our financials, even though we don't see any of the accounting until the grant gets closed out, and then we basically get billed for our local match share. So is basically the auditors kind of want a snapshot of these kind of in-process grants that are in our name, even though all the accounting for it's being done down in Lansing.
Where's that gonna end up?
Yeah, we're kind of like a pass-through for it.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, it's on the backside. No.
Well, it's actually another example, I think, of what physical copy is different from.
Okay.
So that new,
Question?
yeah, the new budgeted amount would be that, we'd have to add that $207,043, and then the new budgeted amount would be $864,722. So the board would giving me permission to amend, their fiscal year budget 21-22 with that dollar amount.
I'll make a motion to allow the treasurer to do the correct modifications to amend the 2022, or 2021-22, budget in the requested amounts as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Kaminsky? Yes. Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Dunt?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Lasky? Ms. Goodman?
Okay. Everything good with the treasurer now? Susan?
Yep, I think so. Yep. Yep, we're good.
Okay, let's move on to item 7, committee reports. I believe the executive committee met. Budget committee apparently has,
No,
not since last time.
right.
Okay.
We approved the budget last month, so
Okay.
that can,
All right,
going forward.
capital projects committee,
Nope, did not meet.
do have funding now though for some of those things, right?
Need to meet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
So Barry, I'm sorry, there
Yeah.
was one other item that I needed to clean up. So,
Okay.
you got approved for the money. So I have a check at the office for that. I just need the paperwork filled out so we can release that check to give to the airport.
Check for what?
ARPA funding.
I believe that's what you gave
The
me
ARPA,
today.
yep, the ARPA,
Okay,
yep.
okay, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we actually get the money before we do the work?
Yes, and then there's a report that you have to fill out as you're going
Quarterly, yeah.
along. Yep, yep.
And when is the first of those quarterly reports due? I didn't see in the paperwork
That's-
that just said
Yeah,
quarterly report.
that's, it's probably as you spend them, so it's probably, so like, I'll have to check with Lisa, but I'm assuming it's every quarter. So like March 31st, June 30th,
Basically calendar.
yes,
quarter.
calendar, yes, yep,
Okay.
yep. So that is
Yeah,
ready.
Yeah, so I signed the documents and, handed them to Kristen at the
Okay,
beginning of the meeting.
perfect. Okay, yep, so I can get you that check this week and then, you can start in on those, yep,
Okay.
thank you.
And then if we do not spend everything, there will be an obvious process as to how to return those funds.
Yes,
I'm not used to receiving the money before.
I bet we could figure out how to spend it.
Well,
Hey,
again, that committee needs to meet and
Yes.
start putting together
yeah,
the
so
priorities
that would
in
be
order.
you and I,
Yeah.
and who else was on capital
I was
projects?
on that.
I thought you were. And one more. Anybody remember who it was?
The engineer. Sorry, I can't remember her name, the young girl.
Alyssa?
Oh, Alyssa.
Okay. Well, we will set that meeting up so we can get going on spending that money. Item D, the ad hoc hangar committee. We did meet twice.
Yep.
You wanna talk? Or,
I'll let you and I'll
well, there's
fill
a,
in.
yeah. Met twice with Joe and Stephanie Sprague, who have an aircraft maintenance contract with Cape Air and wish to have a facility here to do that maintenance inside during the winter months.
I'll interject there. So they are now doing, engine and aircraft checks for technims for Cape Air kind of system-wide. So they're doing a lot more maintenance than just maintaining aircraft that are flying here. Cape Air is actually flying aircraft in, so sometimes you'll see maybe 6 technims out here. That's because they're in a queue to get maintenance done, by Cadillac Aircraft Service. So, as a result of that, they've doubled their workforce from 3 to 6 people. So they've got, this contract with Cape Air has allowed them to expand, jobs of our airport. There's a lot of good things happening there. And then that kind of leads into,
So they need a heated space to conduct all this business that they're bringing to Manistee, including employees who are trying to seek housing probably, so it's a good thing for the county. In order to do that, there needs to be heat in that hangar that we are renting them.
technically, we are renting the hangar to Cape
To Cape
Air.
Air.
Yes.
And they're doing the work for Cape Air. Needs to be done in that hangar, there's no other option, and so that hangar needs heat. We are the owners of the hangar, so we would like to install the heat so that this business can operate and benefit the county.
And
The,
to that point, there were a lot of discussions about, those are kind of the broad goals. At a minimum, that hangar needs heat for them to do the work that Cape Air has contracted with them to do over winter. And due to a lot of different ownership models, lease models, et cetera. And it became very complicated very quickly because you've got 3 parties involved: Cape Air, the airport, and Cadillac Aircraft Service. And there was no clear path forward ultimately other than the status quo, which is Cape Air leases the hangar. They then determine how they want to use it, whether it's Cadillac Aircraft Service or, housing aircraft. And we basically get a fairly good rental rate on that. As of this month, it goes to $1,100 a month. And Susan, if you're still on,
Let me check it.
okay, need to remind her that our rental rates increased as of October 1st for what the board approved earlier in the summer. Need to look up the numbers. But anyway, to maintain the current revenue flow that the airport is seeing from that hangar, it made the most sense not to kind of change things too much.
yeah,
But then it came down to how can we accomplish the goal or the needs of having heat? Because under other versions of the conversation, Cadillac Aircraft Service was going to put in the heat. But then they wanted some sort of ownership stake if they're going to be investing, into that facility. So that's why it came down to what Barry
yeah,
said,
as
the
is.
committee recommends.
The committee's recommendation is that we install the heat and leave the lease as is, and Cape Air decides whether they wanna park airplanes in there or have work done on them in there.
So we are investing in our asset,
Yeah.
increasing its value, facilitating something that is good for the airport through all of this activity, and hopefully building a long-term relationship with Cadillac Aircraft Service. Maybe gonna change their name.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what they wanna do, it's only 2 meetings, and I'm sure a lot could change, but I thought it was very positive, the way they presented themselves and what they wanted to do. And it's know, we're improving our assets, so I don't see there's a big risk to us.
Possibly help us get the other hangars rented when we get them fixed up.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you've got aircraft service on the field,
Mhm.
That's huge.
that's a good thing.
Mhm. You guys have an estimate of what it's gonna cost?
So that was, I was gonna mention
That's
that.
why, yeah.
So, Cadillac Aircraft Services, they were kind of driving this originally. They have secured, a bid, actually one of their customers who does this type of work, and it was just shy of $8,000. Requested for this meeting to get that in writing with it being a bid to us. I did not receive that. So a couple things here. We don't have a written bid in front of us. And per our purchasing policies, we should have multiple bids for something in this range. But getting multiple bids right now is challenging. Time is of the essence, since we noticed this morning there's white or slushy stuff coming out of the sky, so heat's becoming critical. So this is something that's got to get done ASAP. Committee felt that the bid that was procured by Cadillac Aircraft Service seemed reasonable, and that the recommendation was that the board basically authorize an expenditure. I'll paraphrase a little bit, given that we don't have a physical bid in front of us, up to $8,000 to install in that hangar.
Do the SOPs for purchasing allow for a sole source justification, just what you just explained, just putting that in writing to support it?
Yes, yes. That is my understanding from, I mean, we've done things like this in the past where we didn't have bids, but I kind of defer to those a little bit more knowledgeable at the county level than I am.
Well, Susan's, I'm not much of a bean counter, I'll be the first one to admit that, but we can make something happen, I'm sure.
Well, you know, I've been doing a lot of bid stuff with my church lately, and I can tell you that if we try and get 3 bids on it, we won't even have answers till January, and then that's way too late. If we can get 3 bids.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't know what, I should know, but I don't know what your SOPs specifically state, but like in our case, as long as we attempt to get 3 bids, then we just do a sole source and say we either attempted to get 3 bids and only 1 bidder responded, or we just say what you just put in writing with an attachment signed off on saying, here's why there's only 1 bid. You're right now a lot of people are so busy they won't even respond.
Yeah, and if you needed some assistance with this, you always got Eric Ross at the county to tap in for a resource on it as well.
Okay.
But the not to exceed $8,000, is that could be sufficient? I thought you said the bid was right around 8,000, or?
It's less than 8,000.
It was under 8.
so.
I'll make a motion to approve putting heat in the hangar for a not to exceed $8,000 amount.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to, install the heat. Any other comments?
Question, what line items is it gonna come out of?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think it'll end up being,
It's over 5,000, so it could qualify for capital, but I don't know how the county capitalizes.
right. That is where I was expecting it to be, was our capital/equipment.
It's over 5,000, it should last more than a year, so you should be able to capitalize it.
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Dot?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky? Ms. Goodman? Ms. Kaminsky? Yes.
Thank you. Barry, Director's report?
So no incidents or accidents to report for the month. A couple little things that didn't really fit elsewhere in my report. Cape Air has made some staffing changes at their Manistee station, so Julie Payne, who has been here for 25 plus years, was let go. So filling that position with, looking to fill that position. And there may be some additional staffing changes as a kind of follow-on effect to that. They're bringing in temporary people to backfill as they kind of improve their process here. And there were some internal challenges amongst that team, and I think how Cape Air decided to address it. I think in the long term it will be positive, but I think short term, causing some issues as we move through some of these. TSA is about to start a project where they are going to be replacing their baggage screening X-ray machine. That is scheduled to be operational November 1st, and work is supposed to start either later this week or next week, electrical being the first thing that happens there. So there are currently weekly meetings going on about that, prep for that to happen. And they're planning on doing that work overnight to not interrupt operations of the flights during the day, so their working window is 6 p.m. doing that work. So that is ongoing. So then moving on to passenger numbers and performance numbers. For last month, you'll see that in September, we had a total of 1,131 passengers, which is, I meant to look this up, I believe it is our second best September on record. Only September of Frontier's year, 2011, being better than that. And you can kind of see for the 5-year snapshot here that it's a good percentage increase over last year, and then, you know, very good over the years before that are captured. So Cape Air is enplaning a good number of passengers, more than we've seen in quite a while. So that is good. Performance-wise, there's still too many cancellations going on. You'll see in September they were back up to 16% canceled flights after August being where it needs to be. I had a conversation this morning with Andrew Bonney. It's my monthly call with him, and Manistee, for whatever reasons, and they are internally struggling to figure this out, is their worst performing station as it relates to cancellations and on-time performance. And they would significantly improve their company average, fix Manistee. So he has offered, and I accepted, to be here next month with probably a few other individuals to update the board in person on this. They really want to know that they are aware and are doing things to solve this problem, but it's not yet been solved. Weekend had a number of cancellations as we're transitioning into winter, and for issues, and it's unclear if they're training or what with the aircraft de-icing systems. Were canceled for that this weekend, so it's continuing into October. Until this weekend, I would have said October was trending better than September, but that many flights to bump up that percentage. So, So that's where things stand. So in spite of higher than desired cancellations, they're still, putting through the passengers, in very good numbers. I'll touch on that a little bit more later.
Does their flight frequency drop down?
Basically after Thanksgiving, so the Monday after Thanksgiving. It will come into play. On the airfare side, this is partly what's driving the good passenger numbers is, relative to Traverse City, fares out of Manistee, especially on American, are, generally $100 less expensive than comparable days out of Traverse City. So that's driving a lot of increased passengers, using our airport. Not much change between last month and this month, dollars here or there, but overall that trend now has been in place a couple months and hope it continues. Something else I will note is that beginning this month, air service out of Muskegon, and Muskegon is also an essential air service market. They switched from SkyWest with regional jets to Southern Airways. Southern has bid on us before. Southern operates 9-seat Caravans. So Muskegon's service level is now the same as ours. They're currently operating 4 flights a day with a aircraft to our 4 flights. It'd be very interesting, I think, to see how that community reacts to losing jet service and downgrading. Their board actually embraced this move because they've always been unhappy with SkyWest service, even though, from my perspective, I'd take a jet. They were unhappy with the timing of the flight. Their business community has always indicated that they wanted an early morning departure out of there, and SkyWest was not delivering that. So that is one of the motivations for them to go the route they decided to go. But right now, their airfares are fairly high. During the type of service is the same as what we have. They're significantly higher than fares out of here for the same destination. So, to be successful, that I think we'll need to trust for that. Something interesting from my perspective to watch and keep track of. Moving on, we had 2 construction projects here, small, but construction projects nonetheless over the last month. One contractor came in and crack sealed all cracks on our runways, although actually the quantity that they had allotted to them only allowed them to use the runways proper, not the taxiways or the ramp, so they didn't get as much done as I hoped, but that's something that we get done every 2 years, so not a huge deal, but what it does indicate, though, is that our north-south runway is getting at an age where it is deteriorating faster than I think some people are anticipating. That's pretty much all of the quantity that they had been contracted to actually applied was on our north-south. Why these things get done is that life by preventing water infiltration. And then last week, pavement painting or pavement marking was completed. I'm very glad that they did it in the right order because I've had it where they paint first and then crack seal on top of it, so you've got black lines all over your nice new paint. So so that got done, and the pavement marking was the last issue on our FAA inspection, on this year. That item can get closed out. Updating on, capital projects, so the ALP update, which we did the budget amendment for earlier, that's essentially done. Now we're waiting on the state to give their feedback. Been in the state's hands about 6 weeks now, and or 2 weeks ago that it was supposed to be done last week, waiting on their feedback. PFAS testing, I forgot when I was putting this together that we had actually received the payment on this, so that's actually not correct what I stated. That's basically. And then Maria Newhoff, myself, and the state are working together on coming to agreement on our updated airport capital improvements plan, which is the FAA version of what they're funding for projects over the next 5 years. And I think that's ready to be submitted today after Priya Newhoff made. Back on to Cape Air service. I've mentioned all of these items, so I don't think there's anything new on that slide. On the next Cape Air slide, this is something that I feel is amazing me, is that we might, in October, plane more passengers than we did in July. Our flights are full throughout this month of October. Full schedule of 4 flights a day, 5 on Sundays, and numbers we're putting through are right now tracking what we did in July. Now, one difference is that July had a higher cancellation rate, so ultimately we flew fewer seats because of those cancellations. So it's not quite as high as July, but given that we're even in that ballpark in October, that to me says a lot for what our market is capable of for passengers if you've got capacity and the fares, who will use us. It will be interesting, I think, to see how things tail off in November. I'm expecting them to, but we do have pretty much the full summer schedule through 90% of November. So it will be interesting to see if we can get some fairly impressive numbers for November as well. That window between fall color and Thanksgiving tends to be kind of not that busy travel-wise, so it will be, I'm not expecting levels of October, but it will be interesting to see. And then my last slide is that Right Side Design and myself are finalizing our marketing plan for this new fiscal year, and are planning a presentation to the board next month. However, if Cape Air is going to be here, does the board want to tackle 2 big items like that in one meeting, or would you prefer that we postpone the marketing update to December?
Make any difference on its implementation?
No, I mean, it's more for the board to be aware of what marketing is being done. And also, the board has input, but
Yeah.
we can adjust. But we're not holding off doing marketing until the board sees that.
I think both of them at the same meeting would be pretty long.
Okay, I will coordinate and see if we can do that in that instead. And then timing is working well for, currently we're working through this marketing plan, and Cape Air is getting ready to basically, they do their marketing on an annual year plan, So we're actually working together and making sure that we're more aligned than we've been up to this point. So I'm really looking forward to discussions. We meet with Cape Air Marketing every 2 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple discussions as we kind of align our efforts more, because I think one other thing I will mention that I did put down here is that state, historically, we've received $10,000 a year in state grants for marketing purposes. In the last couple of years, those dollars haven't been available. This year, I just received word last week that there are some dollars available, so I'm gonna be putting in a request to, try to get some additional state grant dollars, to, it won't be 10,000, but it might be 1,000. And then that is my report.
Thank you. Old business. And A, airport capital improvement plan update.
Well, I mentioned that in my report, that hopefully getting submitted today. Once that gets approved by the state, I generally bring it back to the board, for the board to, what, and is. As of now, nothing on it is really changing from what the board saw a year ago, other than things are in different year buckets, but the same items just shifted around a little bit. The next item, I want to apologize to the board. I was requested last month to put together a write-up on this, and I did not get that done. Forgot about it until I saw the agenda on Friday and was not able to. I will get that to the board for the next meeting. Video coverage, again, that's not really a significant important item, because from TSA's perspective, it's a non-issue. I just want to close the loop on that, and I'm the one that's not getting it done, but I do anticipate that will start to slow down now that I'm out of fall color. And we already took care of the online earlier.
Good. Any new business anybody, thought of while we were here? And, comments from members? I think having that business on site here is really gonna make a difference in how our airport's perceived by private pilots especially.
Oh, yeah. One thing I'll add is that in having those discussions, we've learned things about Cape Air that I think are potentially good long-term. For example, it is not unheard of for Cape Air to build hangars on airports that they feel they have a long-term relationship with. We had either bigger hangars or more hangars that are big that could house their aircraft, they would be leasing more hangars from us than we have.
They don't seem averse to spend money.
And, you know, anything that can accomplish adding to the physical aspect of this airport with additional hangars that down the road could be things is good item. And then the other thing that I found interesting was a comment that even if Cape Air didn't have air service to Manistee, they may still be utilizing Cadillac Aircraft Service to do their maintenance.
Happy with them?
They're happy with them, and like many contract mechanics. So if you can find somebody that is doing the work, you basically utilize that. So I think that's what happened here. So just, you know, I think essentially, as you're saying, longer term, it could
Yeah.
develop even better than it currently is.
I don't think anybody near us, other than Cadillac, which is the people we're dealing with, does Wellington have on-site service?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
I assume the mechanics are in the Cadillac area, not here, and they're driving daily?
Most are, although they just hired somebody who's a retired American Airlines mechanic, who lives within a couple miles of here.
Who knew?
And because they're on call 7 days a week, they really want someone that can cover weekends here so that they get a breather. So, and that, he seems fine with that, so, that. And then another one of their mechanics is looking for housing and is asking where he should live.
Where you can find one.
Yeah, exactly.
And we kind of suggested Wellston would be good because it's kind of halfway between. But I guess his reaction is, well, what's there to do in Wellston? Depends on what your lifestyle is.
Yeah,
Many people move there because
yeah.
of the limited region aspects of it. So yeah, I mean, it's, right now, mostly on that side, but, because of the travel requirements, they are looking, you know, it's here if they can find people.
Yeah, one of their mechanics flies in.
Actually, if the weather's good, they'll be both, they'll bring the whole team over in 2 aircraft.
Yeah, I see them parked over there, and one's coming from, I forget where, but they're, that's,
Down by Big Rapids.
that was it, Big Rapids, yeah. But I've met most of the guys out there, and that's quite an operation going on out there. It's actually worth kind of, not going out there and bothering them because they're busy, but worth just taking a look over that direction and see what's going on.
There being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here and your input and help and knowledge.